So today we're going to fit the upgraded recoil kit from Sinden. I bought a non-recoil gun at the start, so I'm going to upgrade it. I'm also going to do this trigger mod that's on Thingiverse. It just limits the trigger pull. So we'll have a look at the trigger now. I don't know if you can hear that, but it has a lot more play in it. So we'll come back to that in 2 seconds. You're going to undo the 9 screws, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you pull that one down, there's a little hidden one here. That's the 9th one. So once you have them all apart, this will just come off when you undo the 2 there. Just place that over, and the casing should come up. Where was there? 1 second, I need my 2 hands. So when you pop the casing up, just watch that you don't lose the little spring for this one. This is the trigger, or the pump, sorry. I'm just going to place that aside. So you can see the little pump action slides in here. This is the part we're interested in here. So if you can see how much free play is in it before it actually hits even the lever for the switch. So let me pop this in, I'll show you what the difference is. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this little 3D printed part. It only fits on one way, and then we'll fit the spring in with the loop up to the top and the longer piece on this side. On the trigger itself, it has this little keyway. So that keyway actually sits under the back smaller part of the spring. I'll pop it together here, it takes 2 hands. So if you can kind of see there, the spring sits behind that little lug there. And then you will see how much less trigger pull it is. So it limits it on the top end here, and then limits the trigger pull here on this little maybe 1mm piece. It's mainly at the top end here. So if you have some issues, if you do print this and it prints a bit wonky or something, and it's switching the switch on permanently, you could trim a little piece off here of the 3D print, and same on the back here, you could sand it down maybe if it was the trigger pull wasn't long enough. The only downside I can see from this is the spring is kind of under a little bit more tension because it's not resting fully up. Otherwise it feels a lot better. Much less trigger pull, probably around 60% less maybe. So we're going to put the actuator in first. Goes on these 3 little dowels sticking up, and you get screws with it. So it just pops in like this, and this one needs to be bent into the position. I'm going to put the screws in and then come back and bend it. So with the 3 screws in, you don't have to go mad tight in them, just nip them down. Then we have to bend the capacitor in. The legs do bend pretty easy, but it is takes a little bit of force to push them down just to get them bent. It's a little bit scary, but you'll be alright. It goes into a groove. There is a groove there that sits into. You'll see it on it. Then we'll fit this part next. Right, so we're going to fit the solenoid. So make sure these wires are sitting at the top. So it's going to go this way in, and the wires come out of this little groove here. So when you pop it in, 2 wires just coming out that groove. So that just sits in there, there's no fixing or anything like that. And the cable will run around. I'll do the cable management now in 2 seconds. And plugs into this one here. So we can fit the pin in. And then there is a notch there as well for this little clanker piece to go in. To stop, I'd imagine. There's a slot in there. So once it's in, we're also going to run the cable from here to there. That's this cable here. So I'll cable manage that and come back to you in 2 seconds. So we're going to pop our little plug on there, and I ran the cable, excuse me, up and over. I ran the red cable first. Sorry. And I actually ran it around this. I found keeping the slack down here was better. Push it down there so there's a groove there that you don't want to get caught in. So the shell goes back together. I took the USB cable out of here just to make it easier for the video, but I will pop it back in and I'll thread it down the proper way. I'll show you in a second. So I'm at the popping the little pump back in. It just kind of sits into the groove and this little spring bottoms out here. And then I plugged in my USB cable, routed it around here, through here, around this and out. So you're going to test to make sure your trigger's okay, still in place. Make sure the camera glass hasn't fallen out or the camera hasn't moved. All your plugs are 100% on. This is still in position and this is not going to get pinched by the casing. And then we'll pop the casing back on. This little part here is kind of pushed forward. You might have to slide the casing on from the front and kind of come back onto it and then push it down. So it's a little tricky getting it back together, but it is doable. So you have to line up a couple of pieces inside and kind of shimmy it around. Once you have it in, then throw all your 9 screws back in. Make sure that you test everything is perfect. So we kind of see the trigger pull, how much of a difference it is. A huge improvement. If you like a hair trigger. And just make sure your pump is working perfect, sliding, it's not too tight. So that's it. Now we're off to test it and hopefully everything works. So I just tested it all there. The recoil's working. I'm not going to operate it now because all the kids are in bed. But the trigger is much sweeter from what it was previously. The recoil does give a hell of a lot of weight to the gun, but it has a good weight to it and it's evenly balanced more to the back, so it doesn't feel like it's tipping front heavy. If that makes any sense. So it does feel like, you know, it wants to sit in your hand pretty good, but there's maybe 3 times the weight now, maybe 4 even. So it has a bit of a heft to it, like, you know. Some people might not like that. I'm not too sure. I'll have to have a good few, spend a long time on it, see what it goes like. But with the new stock as well, what my good friend printed me. Took him a good few hours to print this stuff. So that should help with any weight on like games like House of the Dead or something like that, you know. Right, cool. Hopefully that helped anybody who was interested.